What's going on? Feels like I just woke up from a long dream. Where did this red mark come from? Can't wipe it off. Oh well, no big deal. Good thing I'm handsome. This scar actually looks kinda cool. I'm Jacob, a free knight. Today, I'm going to run away with my princess. Her name is Rapunzel.
Monster, go to hell!
Yeah, kill her and take her eyes back to atone to the prince.
What are you doing? She's Rapunzel. She's just a poor girl who was trapped in this castle by a witch.
Open your eyes. All we see here is a monster that just killed someone.
Gothel is dead. Rapunzel. My Rapunzel. I anxiously looked up for Rapunzel. She was still sitting by the windowsill, but her golden hair had turned pitch black and her mouth was sealed shut. This must be Gothel's enemies. They came to harm both her and Rapunzel. These soldiers are no better. I'll make all of you pay. Rapunzel, where am I? My body feels like something terrible has happened, but my mind is completely blank. Why am I here, with strange marks all over my body? Marks in places that could have been fatal. Could it be Gothel found out about me and Rapunzel and did something to separate us? I have to find Rapunzel right away. What really happened to Rapunzel? The unease within me kept growing stronger. I had to deal with these soldiers quickly and rescue Rapunzel as soon as possible, even if it meant resorting to methods far from heroic. But just as I was about to reach her soft, flowing hair, a sudden chill ran across my neck. My body went numb, completely out of my control. I had failed. I couldn't save Rapunzel. Once again, I made her cry because of me. I refused to close my eyes, but darkness consumed my mind, swallowing me whole.
Even if you blind him, Mother, you can't tear our love apart.
When I could see light again, I found myself inside Rapunzel's tower.
Tonight he'll come for me and take me away from here.
That filthy mouth of yours never says anything good. Just singing and flirting to seduce men. I'll seal it shut.
Wait, this is all a misunderstanding. Why is this happening? It's like I'm nothing but a ghost, invisible to the both of them. I could do nothing but watch helplessly as Rapunzel fell victim to the curse.
Let's see how your prince will find you now.
She's the one who blinded the prince. That monster in the tower can't be any better. Burn it down.
I wanted to run to Rapunzel, to take her away. But before I could reach her, the scene before me shifted again. I found myself standing before the castle again, facing the soldiers once more. It hit me. I was nothing more than a bystander, helplessly witnessing Rapunzel's painful memories play out. It was Rapunzel all along, using her hair's magic to save me repeatedly, while I was trapped in a memoryless loop, dying a bitter death each time. And each time, only she carried the full weight of our memories, forced to watch me die before her eyes, only to bring me back with her magic once more. My lie made Gothel mistake me for the prince. In her rage, she blinded the real prince, sparking the kingdom's vengeance. And Rapunzel, innocent and undeserving, was caught in the chaos. Rapunzel, don't hurt yourself. This time, I swear, I will save her and break this endless loop. The enemy before me was suddenly struck down, impaled by something sharp. It was a strand of hair. I stared in shock as the strand of hair moved toward me. but it only brushed against my cheek, as if gently caressing me.
Don't be afraid, it's me. I've discovered I can control my hair. This time, let me fight alongside you.
Before my eyes unfolded a gruesome massacre. Or rather, it wasn't even a fight. Only one side was slaughtered, helpless and unable to resist. With the enemies cleared from my path, I strode confidently toward the tower. Rapunzel was waiting for me, and I gently pulled her into my arms. Rapunzel, I'm sorry for deceiving you. I'm not a prince. I'm just a cowardly knight named Jacob.
The one I love has always been you, Jacob. I'm just glad you're safe.
This land was no longer safe for us. I would take Rapunzel far away. Somewhere in the countryside, we would build a home together and live happily ever after.
The scent of decay lingered in the air, a putrid mixture of rot and despair. Bodies lay sprawled along the dirt roads, their skin clinging to brittle bones, eyes hollow and unseeing. The wails of starving children echoed through the desolate village, their cries blending into the ceaseless wind. Hunger had transformed our world into a graveyard before death had even claimed us. My stomach clenched as I staggered into our home, the wooden walls barely holding together against the creeping cold. My father loomed over me, his face twisted in anger.
You useless girl!
He spat, his voice thick with resentment.
Your brother needs to eat. Get up and find something before he wastes away.
I flinched as his hand cracked against my cheek, sending me reeling. My brother, his golden child, curled under a thin blanket, too weak to lift his head. I swallowed my protest, knowing it would do nothing but earn me another blow. Instead, I obeyed, dragging myself beyond the dying village into the skeletal grasp of the forest. The trees stretched above me like twisted ribs, their barren branches whispering in the wind. I searched for anything. Roots, berries, even insects. But the earth had long since been stripped bare. My knees buckled beneath me and I collapsed against a moss-covered rock, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Then the scent came, sweet, earthy, irresistible. I turned my head and saw it, an unfamiliar plant nestled between gnarled roots, its leaves shimmering in the dim light. I reached out, plucking a handful and lifting them to my nose. The aroma wrapped around me like a comforting embrace, drowning out the gnawing emptiness in my stomach. Desperate, I placed a leaf on my tongue. Flavors exploded in my mouth. Warm bread, roasted meat, honeyed fruits. My vision blurred, my body sinking into blissful relief as the hunger dissolved. My last thought before darkness claimed me was that I had finally found salvation. When I awoke, the forest had shifted. The brittle cold had softened into something almost welcoming. I touched my stomach. No pain, no hunger. I felt alive. I gathered as much of the plant as I could carry and returned home, breathless with excitement. My father barely spared me a glance, but my brother, my frail, dying brother, parted his cracked lips when I pressed a small leaf to them. He chewed weakly at first, then more eagerly. His sunken cheeks flushed with colour, and before my eyes, he changed. That night we feasted. The hunger that had plagued us melted away, replaced by warmth, by laughter. For the first time in months, we dreamed of a future where we might survive. Morning came with screams. I opened my eyes to chaos. Villagers surrounding our home, their faces twisted in horror. My father stood at the doorway, pointing a trembling finger at me.
She's a demon!
He howled.
She devoured her own brother!
I turned in confusion, my gaze landing on the bed where my brother had lain. But he was no longer there. Instead, bones jutted from the mattress, gleaming white and clean, picked dry as if by unseen hands. My hands. No, I whispered, stumbling backward. No, I didn't. They didn't listen. They never listened. Torches flared, the flames reflecting in their wild eyes as they surged forward. I ran. My feet pounded against the dirt, the forest swallowing me whole as I plunged into its depths. The voices faded, but the betrayal lingered. I would never return. Never again. Days blurred into weeks, then months. The forest became my home, the only place that didn't seek to destroy me. I lived on the plant, my hunger forever sated, my body never growing weak. I was alone. Until her. A girl. Thin as a reed, shivering beneath the trees. Her clothes hung from her bony frame, her eyes sunken and dull. I recognized that look, the acceptance of death, but I would not let it claim her. I knelt beside her, pressing a leaf to her hands. "Eat," I whispered. She hesitated before taking the offering. Her lips parted, and as she chewed, her gaze locked onto mine. For the first time in ages, I felt warmth spread through me. A connection. A purpose. Sleep claimed us both. When I woke, the world had changed again. My humble forest shelter had vanished. In its place stood a house unlike any I had ever seen. Walls of gingerbread, windows of spun sugar, a roof dripping with caramel. The air was thick with the scent of confections, an overwhelming sweetness that made my head spin. I turned to the girl, but she was gone. All that remained were her clothes, crumpled in a heap near a dark stain on the ground. My breath caught in my throat. No, she must have left, must have found her way home. I told myself this lie over and over. I stayed, I rebuilt. I tended to the plants, waiting for another lost soul to wander in. Each time I welcomed them. Each time I offered them salvation. And each time, when I awoke, they were gone. The hunger never returned, but neither did they.
My eyes were glued to the screen. The scene made me jump and scream, instinctively leaning back.
Ian!
I looked up, straight into my teacher's furious eyes. My classmates snickered. I flipped my phone face down on the desk, shrugging with a grin. "It's just a movie, sir." That only made him angrier. He started yelling, but I didn't bother listening. I just stood up, grabbed my phone, and walked out of class. I never liked sitting in class. Boring lectures, the teacher's monotone voice. It all made me want to fall asleep. Today was no different. I pulled out my phone, scrolling for something more interesting. Maybe a game to kill time. My fingers tapped on the screen, focused, then cold. A drop of water landed on my forehead. I frowned, wiped it away, and looked up. Patches of mold spread across the walls and water dripped down slowly. This really is a rundown school. The damp, musty smell in the air is strong enough to make my nose sting. I'm not sure if it's just a coincidence or if the school's water pipes have actually been affected by the construction site next door. But ever since they started digging up the pipes, my school has gotten more and more damp. The walls, ceiling, and even the floor are all wet, with some spots even dripping water.
I wonder when the school is finally going to fix the water pipes.
Yeah, the bathroom is basically turning moss green. Who knows how many centipedes or cockroaches are in there? That's terrifying.
And every time someone walks on the wet floor in slippers, the annoying squelching sound echoes throughout the hallway. This learning environment is seriously frustrating. There are just too many distractions. Maybe I should go to the bathroom to get some peace and quiet. I walked into the bathroom. As expected, during class hours, it was completely empty. even though the place was damp and moldy and the toilet was so filthy that I had to squat on top of it. I could still endure it for the sake of some peace and quiet. I pulled out my phone and continued the game I had left unfinished. Just as I was getting annoyed at the greedy game developer for shoving the 8th ad into my game, a familiar voice made me freeze.
Yes, I'm talking about Ian, your student. He was watching movies in my class again today.
Ugh, that annoying teacher again. I had already hidden in the bathroom, yet I still couldn't escape his rude scolding. I tried to ignore his voice and focused on my game. A moment later, the words, "Game over," flashed on the screen. Frustrated, I cursed under my breath. Running into that teacher was just bad luck, but then I suddenly realized I couldn't hear his voice anymore. Instead, a soft moaning sound came from the stall next to me. The thin partition between the two stalls trembled slightly in rhythm with the sound. I smirked. What the hell was that disgusting old man doing over there? I grabbed my phone, turned on the camera, and slipped it through the gap between the stalls to record some evidence. But suddenly, the lights in the bathroom flickered. I looked around in confusion, but a moment later, the lights flickered back on. But as soon as I looked at the screen, I froze. It wasn't what I expected. My teacher was sitting on the bathroom floor, his whole body turning purple. A huge snake was slithering into his mouth. His eyes were rolled back, and dark blood was oozing from snake bites on his neck. I screamed, dropping my phone. The bathroom lights flickered on and off. My breath was shaky as I bent down to pick up my phone. Then I heard a strange noise from the toilet. My heart pounded. I quickly flushed the toilet, hoping it was just my imagination. But it wasn't. The toilet lid started shaking. Thick, black water spilled over the edge, filling the air with a horrible stench. I covered my mouth, trying not to gag. The lid shook even harder. Panicked, I grabbed the door handle, but it was stuck. No way. I yanked it, pounded on the door, but then, bam! The toilet lid flew open. A soaking wet rat jumped out, but right behind it, 3 or 4 snakes lunged, their red mouths wide open, snapping at the helpless rat. I screamed and kicked the door as hard as I could. Boom. The toilet exploded. Filthy water, trash, dead rats, and writhing snakes flew everywhere. I was thrown against the door, my body covered in grime. I gagged, almost too weak to move. But the disgusting creatures kept coming. More and more snakes slithered out of the toilet, coiling around me. Their red mouths opened wide, and then they struck. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the deep, blood-red darkness closing in on me.
The ballroom is alight with golden chandeliers, casting soft, flickering light upon the swirling figures below. My breath catches as I see them. Belle, her gown a flowing sea of yellow, and him, the creature I once loved. They twirl together, their movements synchronized in a way that speaks of trust, of affection. My chest tightens. How dare he? How dare they? I've been watching them for weeks now, hiding in the shadows of my own making. It is agony to see him care for her the way he once cared for me, to see that beastly face softened by her gaze. I was his first love, the one who would have stood by him through storms and fire, but that was before his heart betrayed me. I was beautiful once, so beautiful that my presence alone could silence a room. He adored me, his raven-haired enchantress, the woman who dared to love a prince despite the whispers and accusations. They said I had bewitched him, that no man of his stature could truly love a witch without some vile potion involved. His family believed them. I don't understand why they despise witches so much. Is it a crime to be born a witch?
Break it off, or you will lose your crown, your kingdom, your name.
He obeyed.
It's for the best,
He told me, his voice trembling. But his eyes betrayed him. He was a coward, too weak to fight for me. My heart shattered as he walked away, leaving me to the cruel world that had never accepted me. In my grief, I cursed him. I turned his handsome face into the hideous snout of a beast, his strong hands into claws. His castle became a prison, shrouded in mist and shadow, a reflection of the emptiness he had left in me. And the rose. Oh, the rose. A symbol of true love. When its final petal fell, he would remain a beast forever, unless someone could love him as I had once loved him. But I didn't leave the curse without hope. I thought he would return to me, crawling back on those beastly knees, begging for my forgiveness, for my love, to save him. He didn't. For years he hid away in his room, never stepping outside. I wasn't wrong when I called him a coward. As for me, I watched his kingdom crumble under the weight of his curse. His parents died of grief. Their once vibrant kingdom turned to ash. The castle servants, those loyal fools, became nothing more than objects, cursed to suffer alongside their master. I thought it was justice. And then she arrived. Belle. Sweet, naive Belle with her bright eyes and kind heart. She walked into that cursed castle and somehow began to undo the walls I had built around him. He looked at her the way he used to look at me, and it stung more than any blade ever could. I tried to stop it. I sent nightmares to Belle, twisted dreams where he devoured her whole. I transformed the rose garden into a labyrinth of thorns that tore at her delicate skin. I conjured illusions in her mirror, visions of her dying father begging her to return. But nothing worked. She stayed. Desperation drove me to Gaston, the arrogant hunter obsessed with making Belle his wife. She's been taken by the beast, I whispered into his ear. Save her, and she will love you. He was all too eager to believe me, with an army of fools at his side. He stormed the castle. The battle was brutal. I stayed in the shadows, my heart racing as Gaston drove his blade into the beast's chest. He fell collapsing on the cold stone floor. Blood pooled around him as his breaths grew shallow. For a moment I felt triumphant. He would die as the monster I had made him, unloved and alone. But then, something broke within me. He had once been mine. My love. My prince. I couldn't let him die, not like this. I stepped forward and kissed him, hoping to break the curse and save his life. Come back to me, I pleaded, my voice cracking. I'll forgive you. I'll save you. We can still have what we lost. He opened his eyes, but they were distant, unfocused.
Belle,
he whispered. My heart froze. Belle appeared, snatching the beast from my arms. She cradled his head in her lap and kissed him, her love pure and unwavering. The final petal of the rose fell, but instead of sealing his fate, it unleashed a golden light. I watched in horror as his monstrous form melted away, revealing the prince I once knew. He was human again, beautiful, whole, and it wasn't because of me. Rage consumed me. I raised my staff, aiming to curse Belle as I had cursed him. If I couldn't have him, neither could she. But as the spell left my lips, she stepped aside, and the curse struck the glass that encasing the rose behind her. The glass shattered. Before I could react, the magic rebounded, wrapping around me like chains. My skin twisted, my reflection morphing into something grotesque. Horns sprouted from my head, my hands became claws, and my face became the face of a monster. They left me there, alone in the ruins of the castle. He didn't look back. She didn't even flinch. Now I sit in this decaying ballroom, watching the dust settle over the remnants of my life. I am the beast now, trapped in the prison of my own making. They have their happy ending, but I am left with nothing but the echoes of a love that once was. And the worst part? I still love him.
I opened a hamburger shop by the beach. Prime location, high foot traffic, postcard view of the ocean. The rent bled me dry, so I cut costs where I could. Bulk meat from sketchy suppliers, reused fryer oil until it was thick as syrup. Customers never noticed. Tourists didn't care. As long as it sizzled and came with pickles, they ate it. Business boomed. I told myself it was a temporary compromise, just until I got stable. But the profits were good, and the guilt was easy to ignore. Every time someone bit into one of my burgers and smiled, I buried the shame deeper. I kept the grill running, the oil hot, and the register full. No one ever asked about the meat, the oil, or the smell that sometimes lingered too long in the back alley. One afternoon, as I sliced open a new shipment of beef patties, I saw something glint inside a slab of meat. I pulled it apart with gloved fingers and froze. Embedded in the fatty tissue was a sliver of plastic, a piece of an ATM card, jagged and red. My stomach churned. What the hell had I been feeding people? I didn't think. I dumped the tainted meat down the sink that led straight into the sea. The ocean wouldn't talk. That's what I told myself. I stood there for a moment, watching the meat swirl away under the grey water, hoping it would sink, dissolve, vanish. That same evening, Henry came by. Henry used to work on the docks before he started delivering my supplies. We weren't friends, but he knew things. Too much, it turned out. He walked in with his usual smirk and pulled out his phone.
You know, Kyle, this is some grade A blackmail material. Meat origin tags, your supplier's crates, and oh, look here. Is that a human bone in your grease trap?
I told him to shut up. He said I was going down unless I paid up or cut him in. I panicked. I shoved him. He slipped. His head cracked against the steel prep table. A dull, wet sound. Blood pooled fast. Too fast. He didn't get up. I stood frozen for a long time. Then I moved. I wrapped his body in trash bags, taped them tight, and at midnight dragged him to the far edge of the cliff. No one saw me. The tide was high and dark. I pushed the bundle over the edge and watched it sink into blackness. I thought I was safe. The guilt, again, was something I could lock away. But something under the surface had shifted. 3 days later, I heard the front window shatter. It was past midnight. I was in the back storage checking inventory when the crash echoed through the quiet. I grabbed the fire extinguisher and crept to the front. Rain battered the glass. Lightning flashed. And there, framed in the doorway, stood something that should not exist. It was vaguely human-shaped, but squared off, like a block. Its body was yellowed, sickly, and pocked with gaping holes, each ringed with swollen, pus-like edges. The thing twitched, jerked, like it didn't fully understand how to move. It opened one of its chest holes and spat out something wet. It slapped onto the floor. A poster. My store poster, soaked in oil, splattered in something red. It didn't speak, just stared through two dark hollows where eyes should have been. The holes on its body pulsed like lungs choking on sludge. I screamed, sprayed it in the face with the extinguisher, and bolted into the storage room. I locked the door, chest heaving. Silence. Then came the sound of something dragging itself across linoleum. Wet, deliberate. Then a soft thump. I crept to the door and peeked through the gap beneath. A shoe lay there. Not just any shoe. Henry's sneaker. The one with the duct tape across the sole. Beside it, half soaked and torn, was his employee ID. The name smudged, but still readable. H-E-N. I collapsed backward. My heart beat against my ribs like it wanted out. The sea hadn't erased him. It had returned him, or part of him. I didn't have time to process it. The door blew inward. The thing I now saw up close loomed over me. It didn't attack. Instead, it reached out with a lumpy arm, seized my wrist, and dragged my hand toward one of the seeping holes in its side. I struggled. It held firm. I screamed until my throat cracked. Its grip was spongy but unyielding, like wet rubber, and it radiated an impossible, clammy warmth. Then my hands breached the rim of the hole, a slick, fleshy tunnel that pulsed as if breathing. I gagged. Inside, my hand brushed against something soft, slimy, then rigid. Plastic. I pulled out a warped burger wrapper, waterlogged, crumpled, and soaked in thick bile. It let go, then grabbed me again. Another hole. More garbage. The hamburger's meat that contains a TM card. A straw. Part of a patty, still half raw. Each time I pulled something out, the creature let out a wheezing hiss and shrank a little more, its skin puckering, sagging like a sponge being wrung dry. It groaned, low and wet, as if in relief. Then I found something solid, heavy, a forearm bone broken at the elbow. I dropped it, backed away. The thing just stared. Its body shuddered, loose bits falling off like wet cake. It turned, crawled out through the busted door, dragging a trail of muck. It left behind a silence that felt wrong, too clean. By morning, the beach was coated in filth. Oil scum, bits of rotting meat, shredded bags, chunks of plastic. Tourists screamed. News vans rolled in. And a bloated human torso wrapped in familiar black trash bags. The police traced it all back to me. Cameras, records, Henry's ID, the footage of me hauling the bags. They never caught the creature, but they didn't need to. I'm in prison now, not for seeing a monster, but for feeding one, and for becoming one myself. Every night, I still hear that wet, dragging sound echo in my dreams. Sometimes I wake up with a phantom feeling of bile on my hands, and I wonder if the ocean spits back what we throw into it. What else is waiting to come ashore? I went up to the attic to do some cleaning, getting ready for the upcoming move. The air was thick with the smell of damp and mold. While I was sorting through old stuff, I bumped into an old box tucked deep in the corner. I opened it and instantly recognized the toys from my childhood, including Winnie the Pooh. For a second, I was a kid again, truly believing the 100-acre wood was real. Pooh, the teddy I once carried everywhere, had been my best friend. But now, his once bright golden fur had turned dull and grey. One eye was hanging loose, and his left arm was crusted with something thick and sticky, like honey. I put him down right away. I mean, come on, I'm an adult now. Things like Pooh were just old junk now. That night, I was getting ready to sleep when I heard a soft rustling outside my window. I glanced over, but there was nothing. I switched off the lights and laid down, trying to shake the weird nostalgia from earlier. Then, a soft knock on my door. I got up and opened it. The hallway was completely empty, except for one thing. Pooh. He sat neatly on the floor, looking as if someone had just placed him there. Next to Pooh was a piece of paper covered in sticky honey. I froze for a few seconds, confused. Someone was clearly messing with me. It had to be a joke. I took Pooh back up to the attic and tossed him into the box. But when I returned to my room, he was already there, sitting right in the middle of my bed. No one else was in the house. I had locked the attic. I was sure of it. There was no way he could have gotten out, unless something else had brought him back. Panic setting in, I stuffed him into a new box, sealed every inch with thick tape. I even put it in the cabinet and locked it. With that done, I went back to bed, hoping for a peaceful night. But instead, a nightmare came crashing in. In my dream, I was standing in the 100-acre wood, but everything was wrong. The trees were dead, the ground cracked, and the air was thick with the stench of rot and something metallic like blood. Then I saw Pooh, standing just a few feet away, staring straight at me. That weird, crooked smile stretched across his face. It looked sad, but twisted. He just slowly opened a honey jar and began pouring it around my feet. But it wasn't golden honey anymore. It was thick, dark, and something was moving inside it. I jolted awake, drenched in cold sweat. My hands were covered in that same rotten honey. I sat up in horror and saw the walls of my room covered in deep, ragged claw marks. The walls were gouged with jagged claw marks smeared with blood and honey. Somehow Pooh had escaped the box. At that point, I wasn't thinking clearly anymore. I just grabbed Pooh, ran straight out to the backyard. I poured gasoline over him, lit a match, and threw it without thinking twice. Flames shot up fast, wrapping around him like they'd been waiting. The fire swallowed him. His fur curled up and blackened, the smell of burning fabric thick in the air. I didn't move until the fire died, and there was nothing left but ashes. I went back inside, completely worn out, thinking I could finally get some sleep. But the second I lay down, that same burnt smell hit me, right under my nose. Then something heavy pressed down on my chest, pinning me in place. I opened my eyes. Pooh was sitting on top of me, his face grotesque, contorted, almost inhuman.
You left me, but it's okay. Now we can play together, forever.
I screamed and tried to move, but my body wouldn't respond. It was like I was trapped in place, completely frozen. Then everything faded into black. When I woke up, I was back in the 100-acre wood. Only this time, it wasn't a dream. The air stank of rotting honey, thick enough to choke on. The trees stood like twisted skeletons, their branches weighed down by dozens of tiny shoes, each soaked in honey and dark, dried blood. A whistle echoed suddenly. Pooh appeared, walking slowly. He was bigger now, his head swollen, his belly swaying like it held dozens of things inside.
You'll never leave me again, will you, Christopher?
He dragged me to a twisted tea table lined with teacups filled with thick, tar-like honey.
When you join a tea party, you have to play by my rule.
Then he smiled, handed me a cup, and without thinking, I knocked it to the ground, horrified by whatever was inside. Pooh let out a low, deranged laugh, then slowly pulled out a tiny, faded shoe. And the moment I saw it, I knew it was mine. My childhood shoe, with Christopher Robin stitched along the side.
I waited for you in endless darkness. But where were you, Christopher?
Then, without another word, he poured an entire jar of honey over me. The pain burned through me as my skin began to melt piece by piece. My mind started to fade. And just before my mind went completely dark, I heard his voice, low and loving.
Welcome to the 100-acre wood, my best friend. Forever and forever! Ha 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 ha!
I am Julia. I have been shunned by the entire village because of the ugly scar on my face. I lived with Marcus, a blind man with a pure heart. But sometimes I wondered, if Marcus could see my ugly face, would he still love me? Though my heart was filled with worries, I still loved Marcus dearly. Recently, couples in the village had been mysteriously disappearing. The villagers believed that our love was a curse that brought misfortune upon them. Whenever we went out, they would point fingers and curse at us. One furious couple even shouted,
"Go away, you cursed pair!"
Overwhelmed by anger, I picked up a small stone and threw it back at them. The murmurs and gossip grew fiercer. But the next day, that couple suddenly went missing. The villagers immediately accused us of being the culprits. We were dragged into the street and pelted with stones. I cried and tried to prove my innocence, but the villagers ignored me. Suddenly, the village chief appeared. He calmed the crowd, urging them to continue searching for the missing couple. The villagers reluctantly dispersed. The chief whispered to us,
Poor souls, go to the statue of Cupid and pray sincerely. He will take pity on you and grant you blessings.
We thanked the chief and followed his advice. We were praying before Cupid's statue, but a voice suddenly echoed,
Who is praying here? Cupid cannot turn a blind eye to unfortunate love. Oh, you pitiful souls, follow me.
Cupid led us to his castle, where we were welcomed with a feast. Marcus joyfully drank a glass of wine. For a brief moment, I saw his eyes come to life.
I can see the light. Is that you, Julia?
His joyful expression suddenly turned to horror. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew at that moment Marcus had seen my ugly appearance. Shame overwhelmed me. Marcus's eyes returned to their usual blindness, but his face twisted in pain.
That was the temporary effect of the divine wine. Don't dwell on it. Now tell me your wishes.
I immediately begged Cupid to bless us with eternal love so that the villagers would accept us as normal people.
I wish to share my desire in private.
Unable to bear the worry in my heart, I followed them and eavesdropped from behind a wall.
Make me able to see, I'm begging you.
Very well, but on one condition. You must offer a heart in exchange.
Marcus fell silent, but his silence was like a deafening explosion in my heart. After the wine feast, we returned home.
I am Marcus. A cruel illness stole the light from my eyes. If I regained my sight, could I find a prettier girl? But Julia had cared for me all this time. How could I betray her? Suddenly, I heard the village chief's voice.
Is something troubling you, young man?
I poured out my heart to him. The chief whispered,
True love demands sacrifice. Stop hesitating. Take her heart in exchange for your sight. Your life will be happier.
I stood over Julia's bed, listening to her steady breaths. She was deep asleep. Julia's tearful voice broke the silence.
Marcus, this breaks my heart. You don't have to dirty your hands.
She pressed the blade through her own chest.
Be happy. Take my heart for your eyes.
Oh no, what had I done? Julia was the one who loved me most in this world, and yet I had betrayed her. No, I had to beg Cupid to save her. Cupid, where are you? I called out, but there was no answer, only a chilling silence. I groped in the darkness, and my hand touched something rough, shaped like wings. I had heard that Cupid had wings. But if the wings were here, where was Cupid? Suddenly, a voice rang out.
Have you brought the heart?
My hands trembled as I held Julia's heart. Her heart was snatched away. Is that you, Cupid? Please return her heart and bring her back to life. I no longer want my sight.
There is no Cupid here, you naive fools.
A stinging pain burned my cheek as I trembled in fear. What do you mean?
I need 100 hearts from loving couples to create the elixir of immortality. You were so easy to deceive. The village chief received a hefty sum for luring couples like you here.
I was devastated. It was all a scam. I couldn't hold back my tears. Julia was dead because of my impulsive trust in that fraud and the village chief.
Now your hearts belong to me.
Ballerina cappuccina.
Tung 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 sahur. Tralalero tralala.
Ballerina cappuccina.
It was one of those days where the air itself felt heavy. Deadlines, coffee jitters, and that migraine that never really goes away. I was exhausted, mentally fried, when I looked up from my screen and nearly screamed. Sam, my co-worker, was standing there smiling. Or something that used to be Sam. Usually pristine and polished, today she looked like a puppet half alive. Her face was pale and waxy. Her eyes were swallowed in deep, dark rings, and her forehead swollen, as if something inside was pressing outward.
Hello, tralalero, tralala.
She chirped in a sing-song voice that didn't belong to her. I blinked, startled. What? She giggled, her expression twitching between joy and emptiness.
Oh, you're such a fossil. Haven't you seen the brain rot universe? It's trending on TikTok.
What's it about? I asked. She tilted his head.
It's just brain rot. It doesn't mean anything. That's why it's perfect.
And then she laughed, loud and broken, before walking away. I wish I could say that was the end of it, but it was only the beginning. The next day, more co-workers had the look. Sunken eyes, pale skin, puffy heads like overripe fruit. They wandered the office, muttering absurd phrases.
It's tung 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 sahur time.
Do you want to try ballerina cappuccina?
And every time they laughed together. Giggles like wind chimes in a hurricane. I didn't understand what was happening. I stopped getting Slack messages, emails, eye contact. No one spoke to me unless I repeated their nonsense. It was like they spoke a new language, and I was suddenly illiterate. Outside the office, it was worse. Random people on the street babbled the same phrases. Whole cafes filled with chuckling strangers, nodding at videos in silence. I felt like a relic, forgotten by time. And still, no one could tell me what brain rot actually was. I found out the hard way. On my way home from the supermarket, I saw a man standing under a flickering street lamp. He was laughing hysterically, phone in hand, eyes bloodshot. The air around him felt wrong. Then the screen of his phone glitched, and something crawled out. A creature, half smoke, half flesh, launched at his face. He screamed, tried to pull it off, but it clung like a parasite. I ran to help, but the thing was already latched onto his skull. He twisted, convulsed. The creature breathed, pulsing like it was drinking him, siphoning blood, thoughts, sanity. When it was done, he collapsed. And then he rose, grinning.
Liri lilarila, cappuccino assassino.
He said softly. I stumbled back, shaking. That was the moment I realized brain rot was real, not just a trend, a parasite spreading like a virus, using content as its doorway. After that night, I saw it everywhere. People collapsed at work. Some clawed at their heads, trying to peel the creature off as it wriggled under their scalp. I tried CPR on one guy, but the monster had already sucked out whatever made him human. It slipped out of him with a wet hiss and vanished, like smoke dissolving in sunlight. The doctor later said he'd suffered a stroke, that his brain had deteriorated from overuse, lack of sleep, screen exposure. His brain had literally rotted. Brain rot. I tried to defend myself. I deleted all my apps, locked my phone away, covered my windows, but it didn't matter. The brain rot videos no longer needed your permission. They played in waiting rooms, office lobbies, subway ads. Sometimes I could hear the audio before I even saw a screen echoing in the back of my skull. Even without looking, I could feel the presence. I fought them off for days. I saw the creatures, swatted them away when they tried to leap at me. But no matter how many I escaped, they just kept multiplying. They were evolving, feeding, and growing bigger. One day, I was surrounded, cornered in an alleyway behind the office, flanked by people I once knew, now brainwashed shells of themselves. Their eyes bulged, their skin sagged like wet cloth, but their mouths, smiling, endlessly smiling. They spoke in unison.
Do you want to try ballerina cappuccino? Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, Saha time.
I covered my ears, shut my eyes. Didn't work. They grabbed me, held me down. I felt fingers pry my eyelids open. Someone shoved the phone inches from my face. The screen flickered. I screamed. Too late. It came. The creature tore through the screen like a riptide and latched onto my face. It was sticky and hot, like liquid panic, forcing itself through my skin, drilling into my skull. I writhed. They held me tighter. The audio looped. The images flashed. Bright, dumb colors and deformed faces dancing over meaningless music. It was torture. It was hollow. And then, something shifted. I stopped fighting. Suddenly it felt nice, light, funny. The sounds weren't meaningless anymore. They were funny. I smiled, I giggled. Do din 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 do. I felt the rock settle into my brain like a warm bath. The pain vanished. Everything made sense now. Ballerina cappuccino, tralalero tralala. I looked up at the others, my new family, and we laughed together. And now I see you. You're still watching, aren't you? Go ahead, scroll down, just once more. Let brain rot in. The weight of the ring on my finger feels like a shekel. My wife, sweet and kind, sleeps soundly beside me. her breathing steady, unaware of the cold emptiness in my heart. I stare at the window, my mind consumed by the dreams. Dreams of him, Nosferatu. His presence haunts me, lurking in the edges of my vision, whispering to me in my sleep. His elongated fingers trace my skin in the dark recesses of my mind, leaving trails of ice and fire. I wake up trembling, gasping, craving something nameless and forbidden. Then came the letter. Herr Nock, my employer, has ordered me to travel to Transylvania to finalize a sale with Count Orlok. The townspeople recoil at the mention of his name. Superstition grips them, their whispers filled with fear. Yet deep within, I feel something else. Anticipation, as if I am meant to go to him. The journey is long, and as I cross into his domain, the world itself seems to change. The Carpathians loom like jagged teeth, and the wind howls like a chorus of lamenting souls. When I arrive at the castle, its towering presence fills me with dread and longing. The carriage driver refuses to go further. I step alone into the shadows. He is waiting. Count Orlok, Nosferatu, is unlike anything I have ever seen. His gaunt frame, his hollow eyes, the way the candlelight barely clings to his form.
You have come,
he says, his voice dry as withered leaves. Dinner is served, though I barely touch it. My hands tremble. My skin prickles under his unblinking gaze. I am trying to keep up appearances, to act as though I am here only for business. Then, in a moment of clumsiness, my knife slips. A thin red line blossoms on my finger. Silence. Nosferatu moves with terrifying speed. His clawed hand clasps my wrist, lifting my bleeding finger to his lips. A shudder courses through me, not of fear, but of something deeper, something I dare not name. His tongue grazes my wound, and a dizzying euphoria crashes over me. The world distorts, the candlelight flickers, and my breath hitches. He looks at me with something unreadable, something ancient.
You are bound to me.
I don't resist. That night, he comes to me. The walls seem to pulse, the air thick with something unseen. He speaks of my pain, of the chains that bind me. He sees through the facade, through the forced smiles and silent suffering.
You have always belonged to the night.
He whispers, his lips grazing my chest. When his fangs pierce my skin, I do not scream. I wake in my chamber, my body feverish, my mind altered. The puncture wounds on my neck pulse with a dark hunger. I am no longer the man I was, but I must return. Back in Wisburg, I play the role of the dutiful husband. My wife watches me with quiet concern. She senses the shift in me. We argue. She pleads for me to hold her, to touch her the way a husband should. But I recoil. Every night I turn away from her, offering only silence in return. My hands are cold. My heart no longer beats the same. And at night, I hear his voice calling me, his shadow stretching long against my walls. Then, the plague comes. Death spreads through Wisburg like wildfire. The townsfolk whisper of a curse, of Nosferatu's wrath. They blame me. They claim I brought this darkness home. The sickness festers, leaving hollowed bodies and empty homes in its wake.
The vampire demands a sacrifice, a pure soul, untouched, to appease him.
They said to offer a virgin girl. A strange sensation rises within me, a mixture of discomfort and hope. I do not understand it, but it coils deep in my chest, tightening with every whispered word. The night of reckoning arrives. I stand before the window, shielding her from their condemning hands. Then, he comes. Nosferatu emerges from the shadows, towering, spectral. His eyes lock onto mine, unreadable, eternal. My wife clings to me, trembling, believing she is the one he wants. But he does not look at her. He looks at me. I stagger back, the realization slamming into my chest like ice. It was never her. It was always me. His clawed hand extends, an invitation, A promise.
Your passion is bound to me.
Terror and longing wage war within me. The life I knew, the mask I wore, the expectations that bound me, all of it unravels. I was never meant for this world. I was meant for him. And so, I step forward. Nosferatu's arms close around me, his embrace colder than death, and yet, I have never felt more alive. As dawn breaks over Wisberg, I vanish into the shadows, leaving behind only whispers of a love never meant to exist in the light.